So, you're feeling drawn to witchcraft. Maybe you've been testing the waters, reading a few books, or watching TikTok witches cast their charms. Let's cut to the chase. Witchcraft isn't some weekend hobby you pick up on a whim. It's a path that can shake you down to your very bones, reveal parts of yourself you didn't know existed, and demand a commitment that goes beyond candle spells and moon water. This isn't a lighthearted calling, it's one that will make you face shadows you might not be ready to see. I'm your host, Michael Blackthorn, and today we're diving into the reality check you need before calling yourself a witch. Not everyone's meant to walk this path, and that's not a bad thing. We'll talk about how to know if you're truly ready for the grit and intensity that comes with the craft. No love and light sparkles here, my friends, just the straight up unfiltered truth of what this path demands. We see it all the time, people being drawn to witchcraft like it's some lifestyle accessory or just another phase to try on and toss aside, but this path isn't a quick fix or a passing fad. It's something that goes bone deep, something that can shift the entire way you interact with the world. Witchcraft is a calling, and that calling either resonates within you, pulling you into its current, or it doesn't. So how do you know if this path is for you, and what does it even mean to say yes to witchcraft in the first place? Today, we're diving into all of it, what signs to look for, the serious questions to ask yourself, and the reality of what lies ahead if you truly are meant to follow this path. I need to be very clear up front. Everything I'm sharing today is based on my current experiences, my current understanding, and my current stance on these topics. I'm not here to speak for anyone else, and I'm certainly not interested in sugarcoating the realities of the craft. So as you listen, remember that these are my perspectives and not a universal rulebook. This episode is here to give you a candid look at what witchcraft requires of you, and it's not something to take on lightly. Is witchcraft really for everyone? Let's be quite honest here. Can anyone become a witch? Technically, yes. Anyone can pick up a book, dive into the foundations of witchcraft, and cast a few spells with various degrees of success. But does that mean everyone should pursue it? Here's where it gets deeper. While many people find themselves curious or even enthralled by witchcraft, it's more than just a skill set or a collection of techniques. At its core, witchcraft is something else entirely. It's an essence, a way of being, and it digs into the soul in ways most aren't prepared for. Witchcraft has sharp, lethal claws that dig into your psyche and reshape your perspective. It forces you to face parts of yourself you might not even know exist, or, more often, things you've tucked away. So while it's possible that anyone could pursue the path of a witch, the real question is, are you willing to be the kind of person it requires you to become? Not everyone is built for it. Not everyone can handle what it will require of them. And you know what? It's okay if something's not for you. And I don't say like, oh, you're not built for it to make anyone feel any type of way. That's not the case at all. But again, it's a hard path. And I think even for tried and true witches who live the path and have lived it for a long time, often wonder like, I don't know, it's a lot because it can put a lot of stress upon you. You're constantly facing like fears and facing, your own self. And that can be quite taxing. Witchcraft isn't just about mastering spells or rituals. It's also about embracing the world in its rawest, most unfiltered form. One of the most profound teachings of witchcraft is that there's beauty in the most profane, something I really, really appreciate. It teaches us that the hag is just as important as the maiden, that shadows hold as much wisdom as the light, and that discomfort is often where growth happens. Being a witch means embracing all sides of life, the uplifting and the unsettling. This isn't just a practice, it's a calling that may very well be as old as humanity itself. So I do like that I do find that with the craft, it does teach us that there is extreme beauty and in the most ugly, because we're taught that ugly things are scary, or ugly things should be feared, or ugly things are bad. And that's not the case. When we grow up and we start to think for ourselves, you recognize like, no, things are often painted as ugly, not always, but things are often painted as ugly because of what society has done to them. and society would rather utilize something else as a scapegoat and would rather project their own complex and ignorance onto something to make it ugly than to address it itself. And so I find that when you're on this path, you realize like even the most beautiful thing can be the most problematic. Not always, but sometimes, maybe often. And sometimes like the most ugly, the most profane offers us a gift, an elixir to life, if only we accept it. And I also feel like it's a responsibility too. When you choose to walk the witch's path, you're picking up a mantle that bears centuries of oppression, ostracism, and misunderstanding. There's a meme going on, rightfully so, and a lot of people just misunderstood it completely. For whatever reason, a lot of people don't even comprehend that, witchcraft is inherently political. To be a witch is to stand on the side of the marginalized, the unheard, and the oppressed. Witchcraft has always been, and again, will always be, inherently political. It's about allying with the marginalized, standing against injustice, and channeling your power toward dismantling oppressive systems. The craft of the witch isn't just birthed out of curiosity, it's born of necessity, a response to a world that often needs transformation. I think that it's like when you take on that mantle, when you take on that title, you align yourself with all of those who have come before us, all of those who are here now, and all of those who will come after. You just can't escape it. Witchcraft has always been for the underdog, has always been for all rights, and we can't, we can lie to ourselves, I suppose. Yeah, a lot of people do. Witchcraft isn't simply following a set of steps. It's a calling. A pull that some feel deep within, and it often runs deeper than logic or explanation. For many, this calling might come from the whispers of ancestors, the pull of the unseen, or the undeniable feeling that there's a hidden power within waiting to be unearthed. And that calling isn't necessarily rooted in aesthetics or trends. Rarely is it rooted in aesthetics or trends. It's a profound connection with forces beyond ourselves. If you feel it, it could be an echo of something ancient within you, or even a push from those who walked this path before. Being a witch isn't about a quick solution or temporary identity. It's a commitment to a life path, one that will ask you to keep learning, keep facing yourself, and keep moving forward, even when the journey becomes uncomfortable or uncertain. It's easy to imagine witchcraft as candles and herbs and a circle of safety, and it's very much that. It's also much more than that. Sure, there are absolute moments of beauty, connection, and empowerment, but this path also carries with it a fair share of shadows. Witchcraft will push you through transformation after transformation, forcing you to confront things you'd rather not see. You'll encounter aspects of yourself you didn't know existed, and you may have to reconcile parts of your soul that you'd rather keep hidden. This isn't the kind of path where you only get the good moments. As a witch, you sign up for the entire spectrum of experience, shadow work included. If you're drawn to witchcraft, be prepared to embrace the beauty and the intensity, the light and the dark. This isn't a fair weather journey, it's a lifelong calling. If you're willing to accept all that it requires, if you feel that calling deep within, then maybe, just maybe, this path was meant for you. So, how do I want to start this next part? I want to talk about like the risky side of witchcraft. I think I will preface this with one of the most intense, beautiful, emotional sort of ways of the portrayal of the birthing of witch is from if you've watched The Witcher on Netflix. If you've watched The Witcher and you've seen Yennefer's transformation, that intense transformation, it's very much that on so many different levels. So just think of that as we talk about what's coming up. Think about that transformation. Think about how it, what it evoked and how it made you feel and how you connected with it and what it said to you. When you step into witchcraft, You're inviting forces into your life that can change how you perceive reality itself. There's always been a path for those willing to question the status quo, to fight against systems of oppression and reclaim power. The roots of the craft are undeniably political, born from rebellion, survival, and the need to protect marginalized communities. However, just because witchcraft was forged by those who were oppressed doesn't mean everyone will wield it in alignment with its natural essence. There will always be those who take this power and turn it into something exploitative or harmful. People can twist wisdom and strength into tools of oppression, using them to uphold systems that run counter to the very spirit of witchcraft. And I think we'll get into it later, but I think this is why gatekeeping is absolutely necessary. Sorry. I'm not sorry about it. You might not understand what I mean by gatekeeping is necessary. We'll talk about that later. But I feel like that's kind of why gatekeeping is there. So when we talk about stepping into this path, know that it comes with the responsibility to stay true to the roots and ethics of the craft, of your craft, of life. We see it across the board in all areas of life. People are drawn to knowledge and power, but that doesn't mean they always use them with integrity. In witchcraft, where we're directly working with forces that can shift reality, the stakes are even higher. This path was born from necessity to create change, to heal communities, to provide for loved ones, and to shield against danger and injustice. Witches have long been the ones to put food on the table, protect their families, and stand up for the marginalized. In short, witchcraft has always been about resourcefulness, survival, and creating safety and justice for the vulnerable. Manipulation and control are natural parts of the craft itself. Using our will to influence, shape, and direct energies and outcomes is at the heart of what we do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. When we talk about misuse, it's specifically about using the craft to oppress and harm others without any regard for the impact, simply to assert power or for selfish gain at the expense of others. But I say selfish gain. I'm all for personal gain. You do you, like, build it up, empower, get yours. I believe that. I'm for that, yes. But I feel selfish gain, like you are literally utilizing your power to stomp on minorities, the marginalized. So when you use your power for that, kind of like MAGA witches, a disgusting term. That's... Yeah. Anywho, being aware of this potential within the craft reminds us to approach witchcraft with humility, respect, and a clear sense of purpose. Witchcraft is not a path to be taken lightly, and using it requires discernment about what serves not only ourselves, but also the broader ethical framework we choose to operate in. Ultimately, this path asks us to know ourselves and our motivations deeply, holding power with a sense of honor, just as witches before us did. When we talk about the challenges of witchcraft, it's not just about encountering energies or spirits that might feel intense or even intimidating. The witchcraft can put you through mental, emotional, physical, all kinds of tests that require real inner strength. As you go deeper, you might confront parts of yourself that are uncomfortable, wounded, or downright painful. The craft will test your limits and your psyche, and it's essential to make sure you're taking care of yourself. This path demands mental stability, emotional resilience, and spiritual clarity. If those areas aren't stable, you may find yourself overwhelmed or ungrounded. And I will take some time to kind of explain that, because I don't want people to get the wrong thing and I don't want my words to be taken out of context. I am not here to judge your foundation. I'm not here to judge your life, your mental, emotional, spiritual health, wellness, none of that. It's not my place. I'm not saying you have to be stable, like 100% stable to be witch and to practice. You don't. I am saying these things because it is important for us to understand that if we do have various degrees of depression, if we do have various degrees of other, mental challenges, if we are neurodivergent, if we have been through psychosis before, there's so many different there's so many different things, so many different things going into the craft. It is important for us to understand that what we experience, like what we cast or what we build, those things can very well help help us, but they can also, because it's life altering, I feel. And so certain things we come in contact with can evoke or trigger a response that might not be healthy. And it's really important for us to be aware. And I can't judge that for you. Nobody can, other than you, your psychiatrist, your therapist, your professional, whoever you're working with, any of that. Like, I can't, no one can be the one to be like, yeah, you need to take a step back, or this isn't for you. No one can do that but you and yours. But I want to put it out there because I've known a lot of people who have been traumatized based off of experiences that they've had when doing like psychic work, when doing like, shadow work, when thinking that everything is safe and all these other things. And so, yeah, there's a reason we emphasize building. I emphasize building a solid foundation before diving into any practice, but even advanced practices. In witchcraft, there are spells, spirits, and energies that require a certain level of preparedness, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If you're not ready, diving into those depths can lead to psychic trauma, leaving behind emotional or spiritual wounds that aren't easy to shake. This trauma can manifest as anxiety, irrational fears, or a disconnect from your own energy. Growth in witchcraft isn't always gentle. Sometimes it pushes you into periods of transformation that you might not feel ready for. You may feel old beliefs and even relationships start to dissolve, and while these shifts are often necessary, they can be intense, they can be harmful, they can hurt. Witchcraft forces you to grow, sometimes faster than you're comfortable with, and it's crucial to be prepared for those moments as best as we can. And I feel like at least being able to share this, it gives you something to consider and be aware of. Now, I don't share these things to scare anyone off. Witchcraft is powerful and transformative and beautiful for those who are walking the path and ready to walk the path and ready to embark on that journey. But it's important to understand the commitment and the risks. Witchcraft is wild, raw, relentless. The rewards are immense, but they demand dedication and respect and sometimes sacrifice. So if you feel a resonance with the path, then welcome it with awareness. And if you find it's not for you, there's wisdom in knowing your own boundaries. Witchcraft isn't for everyone, and that's perfectly okay. Just not. I will share an experience. So actually, I'm going to share a couple experiences. There was an experience, when I say this, I speak from experience. There was an experience I had, I was a part of a group and we practiced and we cast and we did all the things. We were together a lot. And so we started to share stories and share different psychic experiences and to grow. And there's various levels of individuals, right, in the group. It was interesting, and I missed that, but it was interesting to note though that for the person, for let's say the weakest link, I don't like saying weak because it's you're not weak, you're not as developed yet. And so it's your muscles need to be worked and you need time and experience and all that to grow. So I will say the individual who had the less amount of experience was affected by all of this, stuff we were doing, because a lot of the rest of the group were more practiced, more experienced, be able to communicate with certain spirits, stuff like that. And so it kind of put the one with less experience in a weird position, all of us in a weird position, because they were forced almost to grow faster than maybe they should. And this is where human dynamics come into play. Because it is important to be honest, y'all. It's important to be honest. But we also have to hold space for when we don't necessarily want to be honest because we like the experience, we like the people we're with, we don't want to let anyone down. And this is why I always say witchcraft is dangerous. And so the individual wasn't like, oh, hey, I'm not really well tuned into like psychic development. It's not my strong point. None of that, right? And so we continue to do our work as we would. Not, and again, our fault, again, for not maybe noticing that there was a struggle in energy at that time. So it came to be where like there was an experience where there was some intense energy going on, and the individual who had the least experience was not able to maintain their own, and like broke connection, which, so from that means everyone else a part of what was going on has to make up for that, right? So not realizing, oh, they're not able to handle their own in this, at that moment, it can plant seeds of doubt, of fear, because you're like, oh shit, this experience can get a little messy now because we're now seeing that this individual doesn't know what he's doing. And so that means not only do the others have to do their part in maintaining that energy and holding that space, but they also have to do their best to make up for the other that can't. And I will say that the result was a bit traumatic. It was a bit hurtful in spirit, emotional, mental, all of it. And so that's why I add this. That's why I'm just talking about this in a serious, in a real way, because these things happen. These things happen. And if you're not prepared for something, and you don't know if you're prepared for something really until you try it, but these things happen and it can cause damage. It can cause pain. It can cause trauma. It can cause hurt. It can cause you setbacks. So it's not uncommon to see people jump into witchcraft expecting quick results and an easy path, only to find themselves facing situations they hadn't anticipated. Some might have dabbled in spirit work or tried to harness intense energy, thinking it was all safe and light. But when they touch something deeper and darker, often by accident, when I say darker, I just mean unknown. I don't mean bad. I mean unknown. It can be an overwhelming experience. I've known several witches who've encountered spirits they weren't ready to face, and these encounters shook them to their fucking core. Legit. Despite warnings, like I'm an extreme advocate that witchcraft is and can be dangerous, but I'm just one person, right? You have all of these books who make it out like, oh, it's safe and it's fine and it's beautiful, and it is, but it's not safe. There's a false assurance of sorts. Like there's this false oh shit, I can't find the word, but there's a false sense of security that is placed upon it, because people think that if you only do these good things or you only do these things, nothing else is going to come through. But that's just not how life works across the board. When you practice, when you grow, your energy grows and you tap into other things, because that's how life works. We're not just good. We're not just upliftment and light, harmony, whatever. We are everything. And so anyways, so they assumed they'd be immune to anything too intense because, positive affirmations, y'all. But this isn't just about candle spells and affirmations. It's a deep dive into the unknown, the mystical, and sometimes even the terrifying. After these experiences, I've seen people turn to fundamentalism, rejecting witchcraft and embracing conservative, like extreme right-wing beliefs as a reaction to what they perceived as dangerous. I'm not even kidding. Like I've lost several friends actually, because they went from practicing and getting and experiencing things that were just too much, and they didn't have any sort of tools to navigate, that they went back to Christianity, and they went like I hate to say use crazy, shouldn't do that. But they went intense and super conservative. Like yoga is evil, conservative. And it shook them. It shook them to their core enough to be like, oh, that's not for me. Didn't know that. And again, these aren't meant to be scare stories. I'm not here to like try to deter you from stepping into your power, but I'm just reminding you like that witchcraft is serious. It can be fun and light and laughter and all that, but it's serious and it requires respect. It isn't for everyone, and that's okay. There's a distinct power in this path, but it will shake you if you're not prepared. Trust yourself, know your limits, and recognize that the choice to step away is as valid as the choice to dive in. It reminds me of like when I first got started, when I was a little baby. It was like probably 10, I think. There's this store called Ancient Ways that opened in the mall. It was right out of town by Christian conservatives, Christian zealots. Let's be honest. But yeah, I just remember my first experience. I think I was buying Spellcrafts by Scott Cunningham, and the owner was like a big butch woman. Like big, like just her presence was huge too. She had like the shaved head, but it was like silver, and she had like a deeper voice than I will ever have. And she was like, just remember, you don't fuck around with this. And she legit was swearing. She's like, you don't fuck around. What you do, what you put out there, that shit will affect you, you know? So be aware of the choices you make. I don't know, she was just very, and it's true, it's serious. So yeah. Another thing I want to talk about is the concept or the conversation of born witches versus made witches. And I think that all witches are kind of both, born and made. Like, yeah. Because if you think about it, when you're born, obviously you were made. But it's more of like natural witches, which I don't even know. Anyways, natural witches versus someone who finds their way to witchcraft not at birth. That makes sense. So there's always this buzz around these natural born witches versus made witches who have come to their path later on. Some people love to boast about being born into witchcraft as if that alone hands them the keys to the kingdom without effort. But let's cut through the bullshit a little. All right. So maybe there's a natural inclination or energy you've got in your DNA. That's absolutely possible, sure. But here's the thing. Even if magic is in your blood, it doesn't mean anything unless you know how to use it. Think of it like working in the beauty industry. I saw this all the time. Just because someone's mom or dad was a hairstylist doesn't mean that they can just walk into the salon and start creating masterpieces. First of all, illegal. But like, you know, if they might know the lingo, but that's surface level. If they don't understand color theory, anatomy, technique, they're not going to get far. It's what they do with the inherited knowledge, how they build on it, practice and adapt it, that counts. So witchcraft's the same way. Being born into it might give you a head start, but without practice, that natural talent won't go very far. And sometimes the fact that people assume they already know it all can actually, well, sometimes, always hold them back. So whether you're born into a witchy family or drawn to the path on your own, every witch has to put in the work to build their practice. Lineage can be a source of pride or tradition, sure, but it's not the end all be all. Witchcraft isn't just a birthright, it's a calling. And I do feel like it's a birthright, but it's not just a birthright. So I feel like any witch, doesn't matter when you discover that you're a witch, I feel like you were born, that's your birthing, like you were meant for this. This was your calling, right? I feel that. So honoring the call means creating a practice rooted in understanding, skill, and intention. If you're not showing up consistently for yourself and your craft, your witch bloodline won't fill in those gaps. So there's this misconception that being born into witchcraft somehow makes things easier or means that someone inherently knows more, but real power comes from your dedication to learning and your drive to deepen your skills. If you're coming into witchcraft from outside of a magical lineage, you're actually building something from scratch, and that's incredibly powerful. Some witches born into it still have to work through family beliefs or traditions to find their own way, while others create their own unique paths with nothing holding them back. At the end of the day, the power you hold in witchcraft isn't about where you come from, it's about what you do with what you've got. Magic demands self-knowledge, discipline, and dedication. Whether you were born into it or came to it later, the journey is about becoming the best witch you can be. If this path calls to you, that's what matters most. It's funny to me though, because like a lot, okay, judgmental maybe, but a lot of witches that I know who are like, I'm a natural witch, I was born a witch, I was a Salem witch. I'm like, fuck you. No, really, fuck you. But I'll tell you why. They're like, oh my god, I'm like a 7th generation, 12th removed, 500 years back, centuries, la 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 la, witch of this and that, and connected to this person. And I'm like, all right, I don't fucking care. But y'all, I need help. Can you tell me, like, what is a freezer spell? How do I do a freezer spell? And I'm like, bitch, you're supposed to be this badass fucking witch from magical lineage from way back when. You don't know what the fuck a freezer spell is? Goodbye. Goodbye. You have been removed. You have been banished again. You are cast out. Don't fuck with me. That's stupid. That's ignorant. I don't like that because they try to make you feel inferior because you whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, I come from a long line. That long line don't seem so long now, does it? Because you don't know shit. Something basic? Come on, bitch. Yeah, it baffles me. And let's be real, this whole born versus like natural born versus made debate can get downright elitist. Witchcraft is vast and powerful enough for everyone truly called to it. Instead of competing over who's more authentic, focus on learning from each other. Every witch born or made brings unique experiences to the table. The community is about connection and shared learning, not proving who's the most legit witch, because who the fuck cares? The only thing that matters, are you getting results? Hello. Honestly. So the real question isn't whether you're born, natural born, or made. It's how you're choosing to engage with this path every day. Lineage might start your story, but dedication, humility, and continuous learning are what carry you forward. Now, we're going to talk about gatekeeping, bitches. Like, no. Can I be honest here? I'm going to tell you right now, I've recorded this podcast like fucking 4 times. I don't know. We're in Mercury's shadow period. Oh, Mercury loves to fuck with me. So I'm hoping this works now. But yeah, I've recorded this. I've saved my shit. I've updated it. I've done all that stuff. And my original source, all the files, gone. I don't even know where they went. Just gone. So the role of gatekeeping in witchcraft. Did you know, like, gatekeeping wasn't always like the buzzword it is today? Originally, it was a term from like from 1943, introduced by social psychologist Kurt Lewin, referring to the filtering process of information before it reached the public. Like editors, directors, and other like gatekeepers decided which stories, insights, and facts reached the public eye, in effect shaping the knowledge that circulated in society. But around 2021, y'all, around like pandemic-y time, and when like I feel TikTok started to take off, gatekeeping took on a darker connotation, often used as a critique for what people saw as elitism or arbitrary exclusion by those who self-appoint themselves as authority. Basically, gatekeeping is like, you know, they're like, oh, you can't sit with us. And like, but I can sit with anyone. And it's like, no, this is like for this area over here is specific tradition, specific culture, specific requirements. You haven't gone through the process of blah, 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 blah. It's not for you. No, but I should have access to that. Bitch, no. Anyways, today gatekeeping is sometimes perceived as someone just wanting to keep others out, and in witchcraft circles it's not about that. True gatekeeping is not about excluding people just because, but about protecting the sanctity, safety, and integrity of certain traditions and practices. So in the context of witchcraft, genuine gatekeeping acts more like guardianship than exclusion, just like a background check helps to keep all parties safe. Healthy gatekeeping ensures that sacred practices and deep mysteries of the craft are honored, keeping them from being trivialized or misused. Unlike the online version of gatekeeping, which can feel petty, arbitrary, real gatekeeping in witchcraft ensures that only those who truly respect and wish to engage with the craft's teachings can access them. It's not about ego or keeping people out of an exclusive club. It's about protecting the spiritual value and power of the practices themselves. I don't understand why people don't comprehend that. Just because a ritual or piece of knowledge is out there doesn't mean everyone should dive in. Witchcraft is powerful and requires a certain mental, emotional, and spiritual readiness. Protective gatekeeping helps ensure that those stepping deeper into the mysteries are prepared for the intensity of what they may encounter. It's like setting a safety threshold. This isn't about hoarding knowledge or being unwelcoming. It's about ensuring that the craft retains its depth, integrity, and that people don't unintentionally harm themselves or others by dabbling in forces they're not ready to fully understand, or not like physically, emotionally, spiritually prepared to understand. There are also some practices that remain closed for specific reasons. Closed practices, those that are only accessible to certain groups or those with a committed intention, exist to protect the tradition and the people practicing it. Some traditions also have initiatory processes where dedication doesn't necessarily promise initiation, but invites the possibility. This isn't a negative form of exclusion. It's a way of maintaining respect, safety, and authenticity within the tradition. Initiatory paths aren't about ego or elitism. They're about ensuring that those who take part are prepared and aligned with the practices and values of that specific path. There is a thing about like a transfer and a passing of power, and so like people have to understand that just because you want it doesn't mean it is yours to have. Doesn't mean that people owe it to you. It doesn't mean that you're actually capable of receiving it. Because what if you were past something that you were not mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically prepared for, and it legit fucked you up? You're gonna cry, like you're gonna be like, oh, why didn't they gatekeep me? You know, like, no, you wanted it, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. It's crucial to balance protective boundaries with a certain openness for new learners who are genuinely interested. Gatekeeping in witchcraft isn't about pushing people away for the sake of exclusivity. It's about offering a path that's genuine and real. Not every aspect of witchcraft should be instantly available to everyone at every level. And that's because this path has transformative power. Knowledge, spells, and rituals are earned through time, commitment, and growth. And this gradual earning shapes a witch's journey and understanding. It's like building upon the foundation blocks. Like when you get your foundation, you build your strength, you become stronger, and then you can do more. It's kind of like if you're at the gym, you've never lifted a weight in your entire life, and you go directly to like, I don't know, 50 pounders, and you just like try to really lift it, and then you tear your fucking muscles, your tissues, and you break something because you're stupid. Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot like that. It's like, oh no, there's a process to things, and just because you see there's some information doesn't mean that you are owed it. Ultimately, true gatekeeping isn't about preventing people from learning. It's about preparing them to carry the weight of the craft's power responsibly and respectfully. It's like a rite of passage that protects not just the craft, but future generations of witches. So when you hear gatekeeping, remember, gates aren't just about exclusion. They're about protection and making sure that those who enter are genuinely ready to carry what's within. This form of gatekeeping allows witchcraft to remain sacred, powerful, and true to its roots. It's right? Oh my gosh, you guys. I feel like gatekeeping is a thing because a very, very specific type of person The type of person who is the type of person who has a Cherokee princess in their bloodline and now is a shaman, and is doing like retreats, and his name is Sarah, and got FOMO. Like, I really feel like this bitch got FOMO and was like, I want everything. I'm so bored. And so, like, now I need to learn about all these things. And I do feel like that's where the negative association with gatekeeping came from. Someone that had the fear of missing out, and they have so much privilege, and they expect and think that they deserve to have access to everything at all times, not comprehending that some things are preserved for whatever reason, and that not everything is for them, and that's okay, and that sometimes it's a layer of it's a protection measure for the individual searching and the others as well, the traditions and the peoples that they're trying to take from. Let's face it, witchcraft has become a trend with its aesthetic plastered all over social media. But if you're feeling genuinely drawn to the craft, it's essential to go deeper and ask yourself, why? What is it you're seeking? Are you in it for the power, the connection, the identity? Witchcraft doesn't sugarcoat life, it magnifies it. So if you're stepping into this with unresolved issues, which who wouldn't be, witchcraft will bring them to the surface and demand you face them. That's legit. Like, it'll take all of those, like, our fears and our things we're self-conscious about, and it really will provide opportunities to work through them. We may not see them as opportunities in the moment, but they are. So are you ready for that level of self-reflection? It's a real honest question. I'm just going to give you a little sort of practical start for, like, if you're interested in the craft. I'll talk about some books and other things a little bit later, but just start small and document everything. Document what you're learning, document what you're studying, document like the things that stand out to you, your experiences, how you feel, all of it. And if you're unsure where to begin, try starting with simple grounding exercises and energy clearing practices that help you connect to yourself and the environment around you. But you can go on YouTube, you can join our Discord. Our Discord link will be at noteverywitch.com/subscribe. And join our Discord, and you can ask us there. We're very helpful, very chatty, comedic. Absolutely. Find something to work with and document it. Spend time observing your reactions, your psychic hits, intuition, and what naturally calls to you. Don't worry about buying fancy tools. Witchcraft starts within you. Use a daily practice, even if it's small, to help you tune into what feels right and to build consistency. Remember, the path unfolds over time. There's no rush to master everything overnight. Begin with a book of shadows or a grimoire or even a digital journal to record your journey, your questions, and what resonates with you as you start learning. Your journal doesn't have to be perfect or look a certain way. It's meant to be your space for genuine exploration. Whether you're sketching symbols, jotting down feelings, or noting things you don't yet understand, this will become an invaluable resource as you reflect on your growth. Write down everything, from your questions to realizations to any spells you try and the results you notice. This isn't just a tool for recording your progress, it's a way to witness your evolution in real time. Now, let's talk book essentials. Yes, let's talk book essentials. If you're just starting out, or even if you're well into the craft, here are some books that provide depth, structure, and insight to help you develop a well-rounded practice. Each of these resources brings something unique to the table, covering everything from foundational techniques to deep personal exploration. Okay, you ready? Here we go. So, Practical Solitary Magic by Nancy B. Watson. I really like that book. It's an older book, but I do like it for the techniques that it provides. There's some stuff I wasn't really about, but that's up to you to decide for yourself. So Practical Solitary Magic was really good. Psychic Witch by Matt Oren. I tried to get a lot of modern books because, I feel like people are more prone to that right now. Well worth the read, well worth the investment. Psychic Witch by Matt Oren will give you your foundation in psychic tools. And I think that's a huge thing. Like when you're stepping onto the path of witch, building your intuition, building your psychic skill set, so important. And so definitely that. The Goodly Spellbook, nostalgia for me. I love it because it has spells, it has all the things, right? And I don't know what it is about that book, but it offers so many different things that it's exciting because you feel like you have an actual spell book that's not just spells, but there's other things like how to create sigils and all these other things that are handy to work with. Mastering the Art of Witchcraft by Frater, Barrabbas. And honestly, anything by him is, read it. Anything by him. The way I love the way he writes. I love his work. I love the just how approachable it is. So yes, get it. Christopher Penksek's Temple series. The entire Temple series, great. The Witchcraft, the first book, it is Wicca sort of oriented, which is fine. It provides a great foundation. Definitely check that out if you're starting. Rebel Witch by Kellyanne Maddox. I'm still reading Rebel Witch, but I love it. I love the way she communicates, makes me happy. It makes me smile. I love her passion. I love her. I feel she has a genuine sort of, what's the term? She feels very in her own way, like how I feel about helping witches. And I feel like she has that for people, and it makes me happy. Rebel Witch, there's journal prompts and other things to help you. And so I really like her book so far. I'll finish reading it and do a review. But Rebel Witch, I think, is going to be a great asset to anyone starting out. Cunning Words and the Red Mother by Marshall, Witch of Southern Light. Great. Just great. I love it. I will say, I would say one of the must-haves if you're going to start would be Psychic Witch, because I think that having a psychic foundation is just a must, and then you can couple it with something else here, but definitely get Psychic Witch out of there. Witchcraft is vast and varied, and it can feel overwhelming to navigate all the possibilities. That's why I encourage every new witch to start with the basics: grounding, protection, energy work. If you build your foundation strong, you'll be able to explore the more advanced practices without losing your way. Basics aren't boring, trust. They're what keep you steady when the intensity ramps up. Think of them as your anchors in a storm, and think of them as your saviors. And honestly, I don't think we ever master the basics, because as you grow in your craft, as you build your skill set and you go back to the basics, you learn more because you're a different person, you're a different witch. And so you learn more about how it works and how you connect. And it's really, really fascinating. But they are our saviors, because there are times when you might get, maybe you're in a psychic experience and something's coming through and it's something new and overwhelming, and you're kind of freak out because you thought someone else had it and they don't. And so you have to kind of step in and be stronger and hold the line or whatever. And you realize I can go back to my basics, ground, find my center, find that foundation, connect, let me hold it. And so when you remind yourself I have a foundation, you start to realize I am in power here, and it changes everything. So I think that's important. A strong foundation means you're not just reciting spells from a book. Which is fine. I'm an advocate of casting spells from books. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. People say, oh, it's more strong if you do it, if you write it yourself, which I don't believe, because some people are just shit writers and they don't believe in their writing and they don't know how to put it together. And I don't believe that, because you can't be good at everything, right? And so it's not stronger, especially if you don't have the belief in your work. So it's not always that way. It can be, but it's not always, I should say. You're understanding the mechanics of why these spells work is everything. It's knowing how to ground yourself when things get chaotic, how to protect your space from unwanted energies, and how to work with your own energy before you invite others into the mix. Like, understanding how spells work, how the mechanics of them, their foundation, sets you apart from the rest, and you want to just embrace that. Remember, boundaries are your friend. Just because you're excited doesn't mean you should dive headfirst into everything you read about. Witchcraft rewards patience and discernment. So as you move forward on this path, remember that boundaries aren't just about protection from outside energies, they're about respecting your own limits. In a world where witchcraft is becoming more accessible, it's easy to think you should have access to everything immediately. But remember, the craft isn't a trend to rush through. It's a lifetime journey, one that will reveal itself to you as you're ready. Some traditions are closed, some practices require initiation, and that's not a negative thing. It's a way of preserving sacred wisdom and respecting the power held within those practices. Remember, you do not deserve access to all the things. Embrace the mysteries that remain out of reach, because when you're ready, doors will open naturally. So here's the truth. Witchcraft isn't just a skill or a quick fix. It's a relationship you build with yourself, with energies around you, and with the unknown. If you're feeling drawn to this path, then start slow, take notes, and see what resonates. Be patient, be cautious, and be honest with yourself. Witchcraft isn't about finding an easy path or an instant identity. It's about transformation, connection, and purpose. To all the potential witches out there, know that this is a journey like no other. If you feel that deep, unshakable resonance, you're on the right path. Just remember to approach it with respect, readiness, and the willingness to evolve in ways you may not yet understand. So if this is your calling, trust that pull and start building the foundation that will carry you through. All right, it's that time again. Welcome to
Save Me, Rosemary,
where we lean into the fierce wisdom of our elder witch bitch, Rosemary. No sugarcoating, no fluff, just some wise advice with a side of sass. Today's question comes from a listener who's feeling that magnetic pull toward witchcraft, but is hesitant, unsure if they're truly meant for this path. Dear Rosemary, I feel drawn to witchcraft, but I keep doubting if it's really for me. I don't want to get in over my head, but I can't shake the feeling that there's something here for me. How do I know if I'm truly meant for this?
Oh, honey, let me tell you, if the devil comes to you at night and asks for a rim job and you complete the task, you're a witch. Oh, just me? Oh, wow. Witchcraft isn't some sparkly accessory you try on and toss away if it doesn't match your vibe. It's more like a deep tattoo on the soul. Something you don't just wash off. Now, the fact that you're questioning yourself is a good sign. Witchcraft should make you pause. It should make you wonder if you're ready to handle what comes with it. Doubts? They're healthy. They mean you're taking this seriously. That pull you're feeling could be something calling to you. Could be curiosity. So let's get practical here. Start small, darling. Begin by studying the basics. Grounding, psychic hygiene, cleansing, protection, and maybe a little energy work. See how it feels and pay attention to what resonates. You don't have to dive headfirst into spirit work or intense spells right away. Ease into it. Witchcraft is as much about patience and learning as it is about power. And let me tell you, if it's truly meant for you, you won't be able to ignore it for long. That feeling will keep nudging you, pulling at you. I'd suggest maybe working for a full lunar cycle. Cast a couple spells, see what you desire, how you feel after, and keep note. And listen carefully now. Don't think you have to force this path to fit. There are plenty of other magical practices that you might enjoy. It's okay if you decide it's not for you. Witchcraft isn't a one-way ticket, and it's not going anywhere, hon. If this call stays with you, then it's a sign to lean in a little closer. Take it one step at a time, and see if this world truly speaks to your spirit. Witchcraft, my dear, is here if and when you're ready. Take it from someone who's seen it all, even the devil's asshole. Witchcraft has its highs and lows. I've known witches who found empowerment beyond anything they imagined, only to face moments of doubt and confusion when a spell didn't work as planned, or when they experienced an unexpected backlash. But you know why? It's those very moments that make us grow and test what we're made of. Embracing witchcraft is as much about facing failure with resilience as it is about claiming power when it arrives. You'll find your own way, even if it's not a straight line. It rarely is straight. Yeah. Like the devil. Just now. If you're going to walk through that door, do it with purpose, respect, and a readiness to face all of yourself, even the parts you've been hiding. So, take a breath, take your time. Witchcraft will be waiting, and if you're meant for this, trust me, you'll feel it in your bones.
There you have it, folks. Some good old rosemary wisdom to bring it all back to reality. If you're feeling that pull, start small, stay curious, and remember, witchcraft isn't a fast lane. It's a path winding and often mysterious, and it will still be here when you're ready. So there we have it. Witchcraft isn't a path of quick fixes or easy answers. It's a journey, one that requires time, dedication, and above all, respect. It's not for everyone, and that's okay. The craft calls to those ready to put in the work, to study, practice, and grow. If you're feeling drawn, the best thing you can do is start small, explore at your own pace, and keep an open mind. You don't have to have all the answers right away. And remember, no one, not even me, can tell you if this is your path. Only you can know that through your own experience and commitment. Witchcraft isn't a sprint. It's a journey. Whether you're just beginning or deepening your practice, take things at your own pace. Each step you take will reveal something new. And as you encounter both victories and challenges, know that every experience is shaping you into the witch you're meant to be. Approach witchcraft with respect, not just respect for the craft itself, but for your own journey. This isn't about rushing to fit a mold or prove yourself to anyone else. It's about learning, growing, and seeing if the path resonates with you at your core. Dive in with curiosity, but also with the understanding that the mysteries of witchcraft reveal themselves to those who are patient and willing to listen. If this episode resonated with you, or if you're standing at the threshold of exploring the craft, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences or questions in the comments. Reach out to me at noteverywitch.com or send me a message on social media. And if you know someone else who might be feeling that call, pass this episode along. This path is here for you to explore, but only if you feel it's right. So trust your instincts, follow your curiosity, and most importantly, respect the journey you're on. Until next time, keep learning, stay grounded, and honor the craft, whatever that means to you.